Okay, back in the shed, back with a bit of tinkering on Mediocre, my GSXR 1000 project bike, which is beautiful, unique and so unbelievably fun to ride, but not while it's got leaky front forks. So today's task, do the fork seals. First thing to do while it's clamped in the triple trees or yokes or whatever you want to call them, is to undo this top nut, which is a 30mm nut, which wasn't that tight on my GSXR 600. It was very tight, but it didn't seem to be this tight on this one. So I've loosened that off. So now I'm going to take the fork out. Okay, so all it needs is these two 10mm here, which I've loosened slightly, undoing, just to take the clamping force off. And then the Allen bolt at the top. And if these are a bit tight coming out, what I normally do, I say normally, it's not often I take the forks out. Who does? That'd be crazy. Just put a screwdriver between it and just give it a slight bit of pressure, and as you can see, once the pressure's there, just to open it up, just by like 1/2 mil or something, it allows the fork to fall freely. There you go, get that on the bench, start stripping it down. So I'm going to finish undoing that top cap, and you'll possibly find that turning the top turns the bottom, because it's all bolted through there, the dampening rod and everything. So you need to hold that as well as turn the top, and hopefully this isn't going to ping. Oh, there you go, that's it undone. Definitely different to the 600, my old 600 shall I say. So I'll drain the oil out of this. Oh, look at the colour of that. Yeah. I think that might be a little bit overdue, that. Well, I'm going to hang that up somewhere and let it drain some more. You don't need to see that, but the other thing to do is not make a mess, is to do your dampening rod in and out to get all the bits of oil trapped down in the bottom. Yes, that's not the colour that it should be. Well, I don't know for definite, but all the oils I've played with ain't that black. Anyway, I'll hang this up, drain the rest of it out, and then get on with stripping it down. Okay, so state of play, I've drained what I can out of there, and I've put the two ratchet straps around a socket extension bar thing, and then up and hooked onto the spring compressor tool, which I've screwed into two of the top holes on this spacer. And the idea is to compress the spring down enough that you uncover the nut that locks this on. This screws onto your damper rod, and then a lock nut comes up and locks into it, and you need to expose that and undo it, as far as I'm aware. So now I'm trying to expose that. There we go. So there's the nut, and that, all that does is pinches against your top section here, and that's why you need to compress your spring. How this assembly is going to come off when I release these, because there's nothing holding it. Might be a bit of a disaster, but at the moment all I need to do is 30mm socket on there and a 14mm, 17mm spanner. Where's my socket gone? There. So all you need to do I'm saying all this, I ain't got a clue, is take off this lock nut. Made that sound easy, didn't it? There you go. So that's now loose. So we should, there you go, you see the thread. But what you don't want to do is lose this in there. As I say, it all gets rather complicated. Because that will just naturally want to go back in there. Let's tie something round it, so at least we've got some sort of purchase on it. Hang on a minute. Okay, so I've tied a dodgy bit of string to it, so hopefully I won't lose it. So this comes off of here, and that is your damping rod. That's your top adjuster, and that little bit there is what the spacer sits against. So I'll start setting this up in some sort of order, so I know, well, I've got some clue of how it goes back together. And now I believe it's the turn to take these straps off and let this come out so we can pull the spring out. Ooh, it's going to get messy. As I say, that just screws into these bits, screw into the spacer, which can now come off, and then we should have a, which won't go over my rope, and then that's the cup. Spacer sits in the cup, which, as I say, sits up against this black section here, that loose bit there. Spacer sits up against that, and then this washer goes on there, and then the spring seats on that. As I say, you've got the assembly there, and then the spring sits on there like that, and this is what you're compressing. You put your tool, misses, you put your special tool in the holes, that pulls that down, which exposes the bottom of this adjuster where your lock nut is. You undo that and it all comes off. And again, give that a few pumps if you want. It's up to you, it's your fork. I'm going to give it a few pumps, see if I can get a bit more oil out, a bit more dirty oil out. So all I'm doing on this fork is changing the dust seal and the oil seal. I'm not taking out the dampening cartridge or anything like that, so that would be undoing that bolt in there, and then you'll be able to bring this whole dampening rod and all its gubbins from the bottom out. I'm not doing that. They can prove to be fiddly, I've heard. I don't know for sure, but all I need to do is the seals. There you go. Tubes off. Outer tubes off. Stanchion, is it the stanchion? Is separated, and on the 1000, it said in the thing that the bushes for this are actually set into the tube. You can't replace the bushes, you have to replace the whole thing, apparently. But all I need to get out is this dust cap. Let's get a screwdriver. So want the dust cap off, which isn't too bad, just feels rock hard. That's what she said. And then get the seal out. First of all, there's a clip in there. Should just be able to lever it out of its hole. There you go. There's the retaining clip. And the seal itself. And you can see by just how wet that is, how much fluid's been coming past that. So we want the new one going in, and again that feels quite crusty. I don't know whether it should or shouldn't, but it does feel quite crusty. And there's a washer behind there. See what we get in the kit. These are the dust caps, which are quite solid on the ring. Woohoo! But this rubber bit that actually holds onto the tube is a lot more pliable. This old one feels very crusty, so cool. That's that one. And then oil seal, and I've gone for these ones, which was recommended by the Suzuki dealer up the road. There you go, there's the new one. Old one's now covered in crap off the shed floor, but again it's it feels more crusty, and I don't know whether you can see, but the actual rubber seal is a better diameter, internal diameter, than the old one. This one's knackered right the way. That's a lot flatter up there. This edge protrudes and would actually touch the tube. This looks quite flat round here in comparison. Don't know whether that shows on the camera, but this one is fucked, is the technical term. Fucked. And I've completely forgotten which way around this goes, so I'm going to go with, you've got an internal spring there and an external looking spring there. Internal and with the edge it's got, is going inside. But we want the washer first. We want some long life oil seal lubricant for reduced stiction, so it stops it sticking. Improved ride quality and longer seal life. To oil seal inner surface, so that's the surface that touches the main, is it the stanchion, main tube. So to help it in, I'm just going to put a bit of red lube, and I do mean the tiniest bit, around there you go. Let's just knock that home. I'll put the stanchion back in to stop it deforming, but that's knocked it far enough home that you can see inside the clip recess. So I can just stick that back in now. There you go, that's one oil seal done. Okay, so I've got Rockoil SVI or even SV1, whichever you want to go, 5 weight, and it comes with a little bit more than a litre, so I've sucked out and stuck it down to a litre. The fork needs 517 cc's, so I'm going to use this measurement to get 500 in there, and then I've got a syringe to get the rest in. So 500 of this. Pretty much spot on, 500. So that's the 517 in, and it looks like far too much. So it's 517 mil, which should be 90 millimeters down from the top. So the syringe comes with a measuring device with it, so there you go. $90 mil. There you go, 90 mil. So anything over this, I'll be able to syringe out. and that was 37 millilitres I've taken out of there, which leaves it at 90 ml from the top. Yeah, I can just see it. So which one do you go with? I've put exactly 517 in and taken 37 out. So it's actually got 480 in it. Let me do a bit more research, because that ain't right, is it? Is it? We've got to have the air gap to allow some movement. Can't just have it solid with fluid. So I'd rather go on the 90 ml of gap than the cc's going in. But yeah, I'll do a check and I'll come back. Okay, after looking through a few of the forums, there was varying amounts from sort of 480 to 517 millilitres or cc's of oil going in, but they all pretty much said the same with the 90 ml from the top. So we've taken out 37 millilitres. I'm down to 480 millilitres in my fork, but I have got the 90 ml gap, so I'm going to leave it with the 90 ml gap and see how I go. I can always shoot a bit more in from the top when it's on the bike. So next thing, start reassembly. Okay, so the first thing to put in is the spring, and it's got a tapered top on it, so your washer that the spacer fits in sits nicely. So tapered edge up. So that's in, and then the washer. Like so, and then we need to compress it all. Again, using my trusty ratchet straps. So that's protruding through, so now I can screw the top on. But first of all, you need to make sure that you've got the lock nut 11 millimeters from the top of your threaded portion. So I'll just double check that. Yep, that's on 11 mil. Now we can screw our top portion on. Like so. What does that feel like? Definitely felt like I was screwing the adjuster and the nut down, so I'll just triply check. Right, that's definitely 11 millimeters. Now I want my 30 mil, and what was the bottom? 17. Now I'll take my string off. So now all that remains is to let the ratchet straps off gently, and for it to come together. Just double checking it's all bedding in nice, it's still in its washer beautifully. So almost there. Definitely easier with two people. Definitely easier with putting it in a vise as well. And there you go, you can see the spacers seated properly there, and it's seated nicely on there. So now all that remains is pull the tube up, there you go, one done fork. Very nice. So I'll give that a clean off, and then I'll put it back in the bike and pinch it up on the yoke so I can just nip that top nut up. As I say, definitely a lot easier if you've got a friend to push down, spring friend, a friend to push down on your tool, so you can get to the lock nut. But it's Monday. Everyone I know's at work. So anyway, there you go. That's how I do the fork. Oh yes, very nice, very springy. Just got to get rid of the residue. But there you go, that's me on a Monday rainy morning changing my fork seals. I won't bother recording the other one, doing the other one, because they're the same. Any comments? Leave them below. And thanks for watching. Ta-ra.